Good morning, class. I'm so excited to see you guys. This morning, I decided to kick off our math lesson using the book that we actually used for reading last week titled Enemy Pie. For today's math lesson, I thought it would be a great idea to understand fractions by learning how to correctly slice a pie. So remember how we used a pie to find out key story elements? Well, today we're going to use a pie to learn how to build fractions. You guys will be able to describe and classify fractions by partitioning circles into 2, 3, or 4 equal sized parts, and you guys are going to be able to name the parts using appropriate mathematical language. Let's begin. Let's start off the lesson by answering some very important questions, okay? Because these questions are going to help us to better understand the concepts of our lesson today. Have you guys ever shared a cookie? Have you guys ever divided a pizza? I hope so, because when we divide pizza, it helps us to, eat different slices of a pizza. Fractions help us understand how to share things equally with people, and it helps us to solve problems. Fractions are not only used in math, but it's also used in everyday situations. Let's answer some more questions. What is a fraction? Can you explain it in your own words? Can you think of a time when you had to share something equally with someone else? Have you ever seen fractions used in cooking or baking? Usually I see fractions in recipes. Why do you think a pie helps us to better understand a fraction? Do you think it's because pies taste good and that's why we use it for fractions? Let me tell you, pies do taste good, but that is not why we use it for fractions. Actually, pies are a great way to show how a whole can be divided into smaller parts. Each slice of a pie represents a fraction of a whole. Fractions are important in math because they provide a way to represent and work with parts of a whole or a group. They are essential for measurements and comparisons, and they help us to build problem-solving skills. Now that we know this, let's put it into practice. For this part of the lesson, I'm going to do it, and then all I want you guys to do is just watch and observe. We're going to go over some key vocabulary words, and then we're going to go over some key concepts. Our first vocabulary word is fractions. Fractions are numbers that show parts of a whole. They tell us how something is divided. Meanwhile, a whole number represents a complete amount or object that is not divided into parts. It is a number without any fractions or decimals, whereas fractions are numbers that show parts of a whole. Okay, let me say that again. A whole number represents a complete amount or object that is not divided into parts, whereas fractions are numbers that show parts of a whole. So a whole number is the complete amount, while fractions are numbers that show us parts of a whole. So let's look here to our left. How many pies do we have here? 1. Do you see that pie cut into different slices? No. We see one whole pie, correct? What happens if we cut our pie? Miss Anna cut it for you guys already. How many slices do we have now? We have 2 slices of pie. Let's look at the rest of our vocabulary words. Parts of a fraction. The numerator is the top number of a fraction that tells us how many parts you have, and the denominator is the bottom number that tells us how many equal parts of the whole is divided into. So now watch. What happens if Miss Anna eats one slice of the pie. How many parts are shaded? One, right? And how many equal parts do we have? We said it before. Two equal parts. So our fraction is going to be 1/2. All right. Let's look to our next slide for more examples. You guys are still going to watch me do this. I don't want you guys to doodle or get distracted. I want you guys to pay attention because this is going to help you a lot with our activity later, okay? Number 1, imagine you have a pizza. If you cut the pie in 3 slices and you eat 1 slice, what will your fraction be? All right, if you cut the pie into 3 slices, which is already done for you, and you eat 1 slice, what will your fraction be? So how many equal parts did we say we had? 3. And how many slices did we eat? 1. So our fraction is going to be 1/3. Number 2, imagine you have a pie, and let's say you cut the pie into 4 slices. It's already cut here, as you can see. And then you eat 2 slices. What will your fraction be? How many equal parts do we have in total? 4. And how many slices did we eat? 2. So our fraction is going to be 2/4. Good job, you guys. Number 3, imagine you have a pie. If you cut the pie now in 5 slices, it's already cut for you, and you eat 3, what will your fraction be? You eat 3. What will your fraction be? How many equal parts? What's going to be our denominator? 5. And then our numerator, how many slices did we eat? 3. Great job, you guys. Awesome job. All right, boys and girls. All right, here's some more examples of equivalent fractions, okay? But notice how Miss Anna decided to write out the fractions for you guys, because not only is it important to learn how to write out fractions using numbers, but actually writing them using mathematical language, okay? So for this one, we have 1/2. Okay, this is how you write it, 1/2. Here you have 2/4. You have 2 shaded in, 4 equal parts, 2/4. Here we have 3 slices of pizza shaded in, and then 6 equal parts, 3/6. Then here you have 4 slices of pizza shaded in and 8 equal parts. That's going to be 4/8. Notice how they have a dash in each of the fractions, right? 4/8, 3/6, 2/4, 1/2. Keep that in mind, all right? Now that Miss Anna taught you guys how to build fractions, we're gonna do it together. You guys don't have this worksheet in front of you. All I want you guys to do is to look at the board and help me answer the problem, okay? For each problem, we're going to color in the correct answer for each fraction. And remember, the numerator represents what? Parts of a whole, and the denominator represents the total number of equal parts, the whole thing, right? That the whole is divided into. So, number 1, let's see. Here we have how many equal parts? 2. So, what denominator out of the 4 is 2? The last one, right? So that pretty much gives off our answer already. And how many are shaded? 1, right? All right, let's look at number 2. How many equal parts do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's look at our answer choices. Which fraction has a denominator of 4? Not this one and not this one, these two, right? And how many are shaded? That tells us our numerator, 1. So our answer is going to be 1/4. Great job, you guys. See number 3. How many equal parts do we have? 1, 2, 3. Which answer choice has 3 as a denominator? Not this one, not this one. Just these two. Now, how many parts are shaded in? 1. So it's going to be 1/3. Great job. All right, let's see here. How many equal parts do we have? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Similar to question number 2, right? We have 4 equal parts. And let's see our answer choices. Okay. Which one has 4 as the denominator? A lot of them, actually, except this one. All right, now let's see how many are shaded this time around. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 3/4. We can cross these out. And then number 5. How many equal parts? Oh, we have another one that's similar to number 3. So we have how many equal parts? 3. And then you can go ahead and cross these out, right? Because 3 is our denominator. Those do not have 3 as a denominator. And then we shaded in how many? 2. So it's going to be 2/3. Fantastic job, you guys. All right. Now that we were able to do this together with great teamwork, we're going to go ahead do my favorite part of this lesson. All right. Now you guys are going to do it together as a group, and Miss Anna is only going to watch. Everyone will get an individual worksheet. However, just because you guys get an individual worksheet does not mean that you are not allowed to ask questions to your group. In fact, you guys are encouraged to ask your group if you guys have any questions on a problem, if you guys are stuck with any word, with any number, whatever the case may be, together you guys are going to find and circle the answer that describes the shaded part of each pie, just like how we did in the lesson and just like how we did in the guided practice, okay? Go ahead and put your name, and then I'll give you guys like 15 minutes to work together as a group to find the answer for each problem, and then we'll talk. All right, go ahead. All right, guys, great job at doing your pie party worksheets. You guys did an amazing job. You guys were able to get the hang of it. I saw a lot of you guys figuring out the fractions super quickly. The only thing is that I saw you guys had some issues learning how to properly translate the fraction into word form, which is totally okay. We're going to do more practice on that next week, but as long as you guys were able to identify the fraction and how to properly create it using numbers, that is what I want to see, okay? Now, for independent learning, all right, a lot of the time in this portion of the lesson, okay, I usually assign you guys an activity and you guys are responsible for completing it on your own. Okay, but actually, this time around, instead of having you guys complete an activity by yourselves, I thought it would be great to grade you guys on a worksheet that you guys can work on as a group. So here you guys have a fruit pie fractions worksheet. And for this worksheet, you guys actually have a pie chart that you guys are going to create, okay? And so all the parts, right, are divided according to specific fillings. And each student is going to be assigned a filling. So one student will do yellow custard, another will do blueberries, you get it? And then you guys are going to look at the fillings and then you guys are going to shade it in, okay? By looking at the fraction of each filling. So As you see here, you have yellow custard to the whole pie, as we discussed, blueberries to 1/2 of the pie. So you guys are going to shade in 1/2. You get it? Green apple to 1/4. You guys are going to shade in 1/4 of the pie. So at the end, it's going to look like a beautifully decorated pie, okay, with different fillings. Every student in your group is responsible for shading in one filling, so that way every student participates in this group assignment, okay? Every group will have one pie chart, okay? So as a group, you guys are gonna work together to decorate your pie. And then at the end, when you're done shading, you guys can go ahead and decorate it, make your paper look pretty. Okay, this will be graded, so make sure that you follow proper instructions. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Um, you guys are encouraged to use crayons, colored pencils to make, again, your pie look pretty. You guys got this. Go ahead and begin. All right, boys and girls. I saw all of your pies beautifully decorated. You guys really impressed me. Really, really did. Um, what you guys are going to do is that you guys are going to go ahead and write out your names on the paper, and then at the end of the lesson I'll go ahead and collect all of them. Okay, great job. Now for the end of the lesson, let's recap. All right, let's do a little summary. Let's look at our vocabulary words. Okay, and I want you guys to complete the sentence. Fractions are numbers that are parts of a whole. They tell us when something is divided or shared, right? All right, next, whole. A whole number represents a complete amount or object that is not divided into parts. It is a number without any fractions or decimals. Great job. All right. Now let's remember these vocabulary words from the beginning of our lesson. The numerator is the top number of a fraction that tells us how many parts you have, right? While the denominator is the bottom number that tells us how many equal parts we have. Great job. Now let's move on to our reflection. What was your favorite part of the diagram at the end of the lesson? Was it easy or difficult for you to do? Why do you think pie charts help us better understand fractions? Like I said, the reason why I asked you guys to do pie charts is not only, right, to figure out fractions using a pie chart because a pie is the shape of a circle, but they also help us understand fractions better by visually representing how a whole can be divided into different parts. So by coloring in the different fillings, right, you guys were able to understand fractions without you even knowing. How do you think fractions are used in our everyday lives? Fractions are used again in baking, in cooking, in shopping, and even in time, okay? So hopefully after this lesson, you guys can keep that in mind when you see a fraction in a recipe or you see a fraction somewhere else. Application. Think of a time when you might use fractions in everyday life. How could fractions help you share something with a friend? Fractions can help you share something with a friend because you guys can properly divide something amongst yourselves. You know how we asked those questions at the beginning of the lesson? Do you share any cookies? Do you share any pizzas? All right. We can learn how to properly divide things by using fractions. Awesome. All right. So now this is a reflection, my final reflection of my MicroTeach 2 experience. MicroTeach has helped me build my teaching technique by improving my instructional strategies. It has been an amazing experience for me because I've received great feedback from my peers that can help me create more engaging and effective experiences for my future teaching profession. I would also say that looking at other examples of micro teach experiences and learning from other students has really motivated and helped me build better lessons. What skill from chapter 7 or 8 did you integrate into your lesson, and why did you choose that skill? Well, from chapter 7, I chose summarizing and reinforcing effort and providing recognition as my top skills when teaching my lesson. As you saw in my last slide, I summarized the lesson. And then throughout my lesson, I was really emphasizing encouragement, trying to encourage the students and um, pacing my lesson um, nicely and at a good pace. So that way, my ELL students or my ESC students, right, wouldn't feel left behind. I chose these skills because since most of my students, again, need different and specific instructional strategies, summarizing provides so much clarity and understanding for all students. Reinforcing effort and providing recognition also promotes enhanced achievement for my students. As a teacher, I'm concerned with creating an effective lesson that will not only engage students, but will also tend to their social and emotional needs. I want to make students feel confident in achieving their academic goals by nurturing and fostering a fun filled lesson and a lesson that is clear and will help and motivate them in their academic career. Thank you for watching.